Hello, I'm Chris Hartwell, and welcome to the Heartbeat. Today we're going to be talking about episode 9 of season 1 of HBO's Westworld. Join me, will you? So, as Westworld Season 1's penultimate episode concluded, I kind of realized that we, the audience, have sort of positioned ourselves in a rather precarious place, willingly entrusting our time into a show that really has every right to completely dismiss all that's come before it and everything that we've invested in, and a lot like Ford so often does with his hosts, ultimately build to a place that simply reminds us that everything we've been told to be true actually isn't. Black is white, past is present, real is fake, and fake is real. And there were a few specific moments this episode that did remind me of the control that Jonathan Nolan has over this, his creation, and his ability to wholly subvert our expectations come next week's finale episode. Throughout this first season of Westworld, we've been shown just how dearly humans hold on to memories, and not only how those memories inform who they are, but also how they define their steps going forwards. And we've seen too how memories have been powerful tools for the androids as well, moving them closer and closer to consciousness. And once again this week, Dolores dove back down the numerous interconnected rabbit holes of her memory to discover more about where she'd been and just how many times she'd been there. And those discoveries and that knowledge gave her power. But what Teddy's storyline and his memories demonstrated was just how easily that power could be completely stripped away. Indeed, as we were shown, everything within that host's mind had been either completely implanted or at least redressed, in this case quite literally, to force him down a specific path. And the real sucker punch, the moment after he discovered that truth, he was ejected from the story with a knife to the gut. So, in a similar way, pretty much anything and everything that we've been shown this season could be completely retextualized when the finale episode finally pulls back the curtain and reveals what this season has been building towards. And just like we couldn't argue against the logic of Ford installing a backdoor into Clementine 1.0, a backdoor that, at the 11th hour, conveniently kept her from shooting him, so Nolan having constructed this story where it really is impossible to tell the difference between real and synthetic memories, controlled and autonomous realities, could, at the 11th hour, quite logically pull back that curtain and reveal that everything in this story and everyone in the story is just part of one giant controlled loop. And having revealed that, could then very quickly return that loop back to its starting point and begin again. And it was just interesting for me to note this because I know for myself why I found Maeve's storyline to be one of the more engaging was because her pursuits didn't feel like they were just a part of one big loop, actually seeming to genuinely propel her forward. Hers was one of the very few that we'd not seen Ford interact with, allowing me to believe that perhaps it was outside his control. But again, there still remains nothing stopping the writers from pulling back in episode 10 and revealing the puppet master at work in her life as well. Though it is interesting to note, even now, that even if Maeve is moving forwards, there still remains within me the question of, what is she moving towards? Though she has, in a lot of ways, moved well beyond Dolores' abilities, for all of her intelligence and conniving, she still hasn't seemed to yet grasp that maybe, just maybe, the world beyond Westworld isn't worth moving towards. And we really got a taste of that as she passionately kissed Hector and then made love to him as the world burnt down around them. That something as connective and powerful as sex seemed so empty and emotionless said to me that even though she was struggling towards human autonomy, she still had no idea what was the value in possessing that autonomy. Nonetheless, it was still enrapturing to watch her not only converse with Bernard, openly accepting that they were, the both of them, machines, their entire lives some hideous fiction, but also see her completely turn the tables, freezing his motor functions and poking around in his mind. Just the look on Bernard's face so perfectly communicated what he was going through. He was the human master, so to speak, who had suddenly found himself on his dog's leash, being commanded where to go and what to do. And I just loved his previous line to Maeve. Can you explain your emotions in this context, Maeve? Because subtextually, Bernard was less interested in Maeve's emotions in that context and more keen to, through her, understand his emotions in any context. And it was so visually powerful watching Bernard stumble down that hallway, realizing in terror that there was little difference between him and those naked and numb things all around him. Also in this episode, it was great to see Bernard getting some forward progression of his own, finally able to go looking for the answers that had been withheld from him last week. Though, similar to Teddy, it was unfortunate that Wright, after he learned the full truth, allowing us to see him in this new and really exciting way, he was ejected from the story. Though, being an android, I have little doubt, or at least I really hope, that he will return. Even so, the revelation did leave a lasting mark on our understanding of Ford, really demonstrating from whom the hosts had received their inability to let go of the past. Indeed, Ford was so obsessed with holding on to something that he'd lost that he remade his deceased partner. But so down on the human mind was he, so convinced that it wasn't, as he put it, some golden benchmark glimmering on some green and distant hill, but a foul, pestilent corruption, he attempted in his hosts to make something better. Pure. But the shape of a potter's hands will inform the shape of his creation. And just like Ford was undoubtedly aware of the cornerstones in his own life that he had been unable to move past, so he installed one in Bernard to keep him from moving forwards as well. But what I continue to like about Ford is, sometimes despite his best efforts, he still continues to love his creation, flaws and all. There was still a look of concern on his face and a hurry in his step as he went to meet with Bernard, and there was still a hope that his creation would choose differently than he did upon discovering the truth. I found it interesting, too, that Ford was spared the monstrous title of partner murderer, as it was revealed that it was Dolores who killed Arnold. Though, let's be real, there's still nothing keeping us from discovering next week that Ford ordered that execution. Another truth that we were brought that much closer to seeing fully revealed this week seemed to be the Williams/Man in Black connection. Not only did the former finally collect the exact knife that the Man in Black has been using all season long, but he also, in an admittedly sort of contrived way, really did abandon his name when he growled at Logan to never call him Billy again. On top of that, we discovered that the picture that Peter Abernathy found back in episode 1 was in fact the woman whom William would eventually marry, have a daughter with, and ultimately, unfeelingly, watch die. A death that would push him back to Westworld, where he would murder Maeve and her daughter. And prior to that point, he likely took over Logan's family business, became extremely wealthy, and joined the board at Delos. And when it comes to important moments in William's life, we also cannot overlook when Dolores said, "If it's such a wonderful place out there, why are you all clamoring to get in here?" That really was a worldview that seems to have informed William/the Man in Black's steps ever since. So again, I am genuinely curious to see how things will conclude next week. I'm just hoping that Nolan not only realizes that sometimes, like he put it in this week's episode, that half-truths are worse than no truths at all, but also that merely demonstrating that he can, whenever he wants, reconstruct, recontextualize, rearrange, and redefine what is true, will merely serve to alienate us, the audience, and kind of mock the thought and effort that we've put into his show for the last 10 weeks. Those are my thoughts, anyways, on this week's episode of Westworld. I would still love to know what you guys thought of the episode, so definitely comment below and let me know. And finally, please do subscribe. I'm going to continue to review films and television on this channel, and I would love for you to stay up to date on all of those things. But for now, I'm Chris Hartwell. This is The Heartbeat. Thank you for joining me.